What's up, everybody? My name is Brandon McCollum, also known as Mkbhd, and this is Nice Minds. I'm with a very, very special guest today, Nate Anderson. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing all right. I really am. Weather's kind of crap, but that's March in Minnesota.
The spring months are really hard for me. I mean, I feel like my birthday is April 21st, so I feel like I don't really my mood doesn't change until after my birthday, and then it just goes to shit after October. For that 6 months, I'm good. Then the next 6 months is just horrible. But dude, I'm glad to have you on today, man.
Yeah, I know. I had actually reached out. It was a hot minute ago.
Yeah, so I've known you for probably like almost a decade probably at this point because I used to work with your wife Sarah
You
actually,
did. Yep.
and we used to work at the community center together in Maple Grove, and uh at the time you were just dating, and I remember her saying, I gotta connect you with my boyfriend. He's really into music too. I feel like you guys would really click, and
Right.
she would always bring you up and stuff. And then we finally got connected, and we just kind of stayed in contact over the years. And you've just been somebody who I've really admired, and you've
Thank
been
you.
super supportive of me. And we just had like a mutual admiration for each other, I feel like.
Right. Absolutely. And I want to think that like even prior to my wife introducing us, like I feel like you and I ran in some parallel circles, at least in like the local hip hop scene.
Probably.
Like I was really big into Lunatics back in the day. So like MC
Oh
Rents and
yeah.
Professor Fresh and Ruthless and PLC.
Yep.
It's fun. I still run into John Dirty Dubs from PLC at a lot of local punk shows.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, so I was real big into Lunatics in the mid 2000s. I have a Professor Fresh tattoo. And I
Damn. That's dedication, bro.
so every time it's a running joke, like because I don't ever go out and I don't do like the downtown bar scene, but Al comes up, Professor Fresh comes up every couple of months and performs at a bar in St. Cloud. So it's like a running joke. The only time I ever go out is when Al is in town.
That's dope.
And then there's a lot of times I don't even stick around for a set because he plays after midnight. And I'm an old man and I go to bed fucking early, but I'll pop over to the bar and say hi and we'll catch up and stuff like that. So yeah, we've had that connection. I didn't know if we like just the Minneapolis hip hop scene in general.
I bet we were at the same shows then, and I bet we met each other like briefly or something. Because I mean, I was doing shows with I definitely did shows with PLC. I mean, I think we both opened for Tech Nine together
Okay.
at the Foundation back in like '07 or something like that. So I mean, and Rents I know fairly well too. And yeah, just all those guys. It's crazy because do you know Fat C?
Oh yeah. Yep. Corey was from south of the metro, if I remember
Yep.
correctly. I've never met I've had to have met him at a lunatic show, but I don't think I've ever like chilled
Oh, okay.
or like ever gotten to have a conversation. He did a really good cover or like a he rapped over a Biggie beat for like a 420 on MySpace way back in the day. And then he pulled it from his MySpace and I was never ever able to hear it again. But he fucking killed it. If you can get a hold of him and let him know, I would like to hear that again. That would be much appreciated.
Because the reason why I brought that up is because I am currently working on his new project as a recording engineer. So that's why I
Okay.
asked if you knew him. So yeah, every 2 weeks I meet up with him and we record in the studio for the last like few weeks.
That's super dope. I'd like to hear. I can't wait to hear that project because Corey always had bad rhymes. He really did.
He's really fucking good, man. I mean, I don't like to pick favorites with clients, but I mean, like he's right up there with people that I've worked with. I mean,
Mhm.
it's always just super like quick. I mean, like we book out 4 hours and he usually only needs like one or two, and he'll get like two songs done.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that because I haven't heard music from him since way back in the MySpace days. That's how far back some of this music goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I met him because I mean he was rolling in those circles and stuff, and I met him probably like '06, '07.
Okay. That's right about the time I got into Lunatics was probably at 06, 07.
We had to have seen each other. That's crazy.
Right.
That's crazy. So that leads me to my next question. So like I know you've been in like you sent me like a link to like you were in a punk band, right?
I was, yeah. This was early to mid 2000s. It was a couple of cats I went to high school with. The singer, guitar player was my best friend from high school. Taught him to play guitar in his dad's barn. Actually, we grew out in the country. So I remember like practicing and recording videos of ourselves, like playing covers and lip syncing to punk rock in the early to late 90s. And we really took it serious following getting out of high school. These are cats I'd played with all through high school. And we had like a really good moment. Like you had listened to that album that was self-funded, recorded at an old label called it was over. I want to say it was over by like the East Bank. Atomic K. Does that ring a bell? Maybe it was a little further down University.
Yeah.
Yeah. I Screaming Monkey Boner, like this weird band from South Metro had recorded there. But yeah, that was completely self-funded. 1,000 copies pressed. Played a bunch of shows. We were really big in St. Cloud, actually. It's funny, I live up here now. Played Warped Tour. Um, we've set up a 3-week tour all on our own through MySpace, out to Southern California, through Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and back. But yeah, it was a really cool point in life. That was when it was. I would almost say it was easier to blow up. Well, I don't know, because we're fighting TikTok now, but like back then, MySpace was an incredible platform.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I sold so many beats on MySpace, bro. I mean, and I stopped selling beats when MySpace like, you know, stopped being a thing. I mean, I was able to like network with like huge fucking people. Like I met Mod Sun before he blew up. I met this dude Kyle Lucas who was signed to Big Boy's record label for a while. And I was like I remember back in the day I was talking to Greaves on there and like I was just like networking like hell with like dudes when they were like big dudes who were like just starting out or like just starting to become poppin'.
Yeah, it was an incredible like revolution. Like, yeah, I mean, back in the day, we had Reverb Nation and SoundCloud, and um, the Bandcamp is the new Reverb Nation or SoundClick for anybody who ever stole beats.
Yep.
But yeah, so like I said, we set up a 3-week tour by ourselves on MySpace, just literally looking up the cities we wanted to go to, um, reaching out to bands in the kind of the same genre that we were, reaching out to venues, and there wasn't one night that we didn't play on that tour. I mean, you might have 5 people, but we played. There were a couple of shows we were playing a couple of hundred. But so that's really what I grew up on. Like I have a strong love for hip hop now, but I am first and foremost a punk rocker. Started playing guitar when I was 12. My first band I was 14, playing shows. This is all out in southwestern Minnesota, these tiny little towns. We were playing in barns. Um, and then yeah, post high school, kind of started taking that serious and took off and had a really good run at it. But like all good things came to an end.
I listened to the record that you sent me and I was like I'm not a huge punk fan, but like I know when it's good and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty impressive. So I dug it, man. I dug what I heard.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We put out a lot of good music as a 3-piece. There wasn't, I mean, I want to say his name was Carl, was the guy that ran Atomic K, and he did an incredible job with that record. He really did. So, but yeah, so that was like my first foray into like the creative world. But my toes go as far back as like middle school, high school, designing websites. We were really big into HTML in the mid 90s.
Yep, I had a little dabble in HTML as well. Hell yeah.
Yeah, getting into graphic design in like 9th, 10th grade, because I graduated in 2000. So like computers were, even having a computer at home back then was still sort of a big deal. Dial up.
Yep.
I was dabbling into that even middle school, high school. So, and like nowadays, um, I've never taken anything professionally on any sort of medium that I am created in or like good at. Like I can do Adobe After Effects, I can Photoshop, I can video edit it. I've done all of that for any creative projects I've ever engaged in. I've done my own graphics and animations. But yeah, so I've always prided myself on that piece. Like I had a successful YouTube channel, and that's we can get into that later when we talk about pandemic stuff. But all of the video editing was done by us. I'm self-taught on all of those things. I would never say recording of hip hop like in any sort of professional level, but a USB microphone and an old copy of Adobe Audition. I have friends that have rapped. over the years and just getting bored drunk at parties. And
Yep.
but I actually, fun fact, there's a small radio station in Marshall, Minnesota called KKCK. And my buddy Skrilla and I whipped out a track one afternoon, and I edited it, mixed it, and I walked it over to the radio station and hand delivered a copy of it. And they played it that Saturday night at the end of their hip hop night, at like Saturday at like 12 o'clock midnight.
That had to have been just a amazing feeling. That's crazy.
Here's where it gets really good. We were on our way home from a party, and I was telling my wife, girlfriend at the time, that I had a song on the radio, and she's like, "You're full of shit. You're fucking lying." And as we're driving home, they played our song literally like 10 minutes later. And they're like, "All right, here to round out the night, it's Nate Diz and Skrilla." And I just looked dead her in her face and I laughed at her and said, "I fucking told you I don't have any reason to lie about that kind of shit."
That's crazy. So, I mean, how many times did they end up? Was it in like rotation then for a little while?
They probably played it a couple of weekends. It was like a Saturday night party mix, any flavor of hip hop, really, kind of thing. But I never followed it after that. I just was cool enough to say I walked a song I had just recorded down to the radio station and they played it.
That's super dope. That's super cool. Yeah, and then I know in your professional life, because you just told me you're a therapist.
I am much tattooed, foul mouthed. It's for some reason a lot of people are surprised by it. I still am myself. Um, I've been a therapist for about 3.5 years. I went back to school in my 30s. Didn't know I was going to even ever go back to school, and grinded out a master's degree in psychology.
Wow. That's what's up, man. I mean, so like this is recent within the last decade then.
10 years, because I moved to St. Cloud in April of 2012. I actually moved up here coming out of treatment. I sobered up in 2012.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yep. Didn't have much of a choice in the matter. It was either go to prison or try something different. So I tried something different and ended up with a master's degree.
Good for you, man.
I had somebody finally push me and be like, "Why don't you go back to school?" And I was like, "That's a pipe dream," like figuratively.
Hmm.
And she go, I got past student loan debt and blah, blah, blah. And she just looked me dead in my face and said, "All you have are excuses." And I was like, "Damn, you're right." And yeah, at age 30, I put myself into college. I navigated all that stuff myself. Student loans, getting loans out of default, into deferment, applying to school, signing up, went to school. It's actually kind of a crazy story. The day I graduated from the halfway house I was at was the day I started college.
Wow.
I graduated from the halfway house at 8:15 in the morning, and I had class at 9.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
And I was in school for the next 7.5 years, grinding out a master's degree.
Wow. So you did like your full like bachelor's into your master's like in
Uh-huh.
in your 30s?
Yep, no breaks. Not
Wow.
even summers. I never had a summer off. I took classes every summer too.
Wow, for 7 years straight.
June 2012 to August 2019.
Wow. Super recent. Congrats, man. That's crazy. So, I'm guessing that the reason why you ended up doing that was because of all the struggles you probably had with mental health, right?
This is something we sit around the office and talk about all the time. It's like, why are we therapists? Right? My answer is money and glory. Now, obviously, that's a facetious answer,
Mhm.
but it's literally you just become one. Yes, my struggles can help aid in that, especially letting people know that they're not alone and you can come out on the other side.
Mhm.
But even prior to that, like I was always, I don't want to say attracted to, but like I was always like a champion and an advocate for the disenfranchised. Like thinking back to high school, I hung out with the nerds and the theater geeks.
Same.
And when kids were partying, this is a fucking fact. We started a Dungeons and Dragons campaign the summer before 11th grade, and we're still playing it after we graduated high school. And that's almost every weekend, all weekend for 2 years. Those are the guys that I grinded out high school with.
Hell yeah.
So I was always an advocate and like a kind of, I don't want, drawn to like those that wouldn't stand up for themselves or
Yep.
had no real place to fit in. Because I had that same struggle. I moved from the burbs to the country, and I was this like skateboarder kid who moved out from Maple Plain, went to school in Orono, which fuck Orono for real.
Yeah.
those kids were ruthless back then, and
Yeah.
probably still are. And when I moved to Redwood Falls, Minnesota, which is still home, I was the only kid who skated. I dyed my hair green first day, 7th grade, at 12 years old. I moved there and said, I'm going to be as different as I can be and not care what anybody thinks about me because then they can't hurt me.
That's awesome.
But is that healthy? Like that defense, and now I'm moving into like therapy piece, but like that defense mechanism at that young of an age,
Mm-hmm.
does it stunt growth? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Do I think that it did? I think in some ways it was detrimental to my own overall development. A lot of judgment, a lot of preconceived notions about people, a lot of resentment for those that for no other reason than like my parents didn't have money, decided that I was a second class citizen. But so in forming that shell, I was a sore thumb in high school. I stuck out like a motherfucker.
Yep.
And never cared, and eventually other kids gravitated toward that. That was one thing I told myself early on, that I was going to be who I wanted to be, irregardless of where and what I was doing. And I still carry that to this day. Even as a professional, the best thing that I can bring to a therapeutic relationship is who I am as a person, and that's kind and caring, empathetic and understanding. And if you truly want it, I can help you change your life.
That's amazing.
Sorry for that soapbox, but
Well, no, I mean, the story you told, I mean, I really resonated with it and related to it. And I mean, I feel like I really did. The reason why I started this podcast was to talk to creatives and hopefully dive into mental health. And I feel like I have done myself a disservice a lot of times where we haven't quite made it there in certain episodes. Like we haven't really dived into the mental health stuff as much as I've wanted to.
right.
So talking about this in any capacity, especially to somebody who is a therapist, I mean, it's a dream come true for me. I mean, for this podcast, at least.
And that was all kind of happenstance, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
I actually dropped like 4 F-bombs in my grad school interview,
Amazing.
and they still let me in. Not that I should be proud of that,
Right.
but
You were able to be yourself, though.
exactly. And that's what they recognized, was that authenticity. And even after the fact, they hired me as a graduate assistant for 2 years, so paid me to get my degree. But in having a conversation with one of my professors, he told me, one day over lunch, and because grad school is a really different relationship with your professors, it's a lot more into one-on-one individualized. But he told me dead to my face, he said, I'd rather have you than some perfect 4.0 student who's never had any life experience.
For sure.
And it's in that it's a very humbling moment.
Yeah.
That's the other way that I approach therapy, is I'm lucky to be able to do what I do.
Absolutely.
It's multiple people took a chance on me because they saw something and allowed me an opportunity I never thought that I would ever have. So it's a very humbling. So that's why I'm a therapist, because somebody thought you'd be good at a master's program. Not that I had that drive, but so yeah, that's kind of that in a nutshell. But yeah, being me forever and always. God, that sounds terrible. And just becoming a therapist kind of just fell on my lap.
I've struggled with mental health since I was, a kid. I mean, I was like, as a therapist, tell me if this makes any sense. At one point in middle school, I was prescribed to Paxil and Adderall at the same time. Doesn't that sound like a fucked up combination?
So I'm going to first preface that with, I am not an expert on meds, nor do I ever really have an opinion on meds, even as a
Mm,
professional.
okay.
That's a hard boundary that I have to keep, and that's even something that I keep with clients. If they want to talk to me about medication, are you taking it? If not, why? And if you have anything else, you need to talk to your med provider. So,
That makes sense.
but aside from that, I know you probably grew up in an era where getting prescribed ADHD meds was more common. Oh, look, he's hyperactive. Let's put him on amphetamines.
Yep.
Thinking late 90s, mid to early 2000s. So, have you ever been formally diagnosed with ADHD?
Well, ADD, but yes, I didn't have the H part of it. I wasn't hyper. It was
Okay.
strictly for the paying attention factor. But I mean, I think I want to get a hold of my old medical records because I I'm pretty sure I was diagnosed with ADD, depression, and anxiety as a middle schooler,
Right.
and I feel like I mean, maybe it's common, but like back then, I feel like that that early catching it that early it was kind of crazy. But I say all that to say that like I've never quite found the right treatment for it
Hmm.
in my 37 years of life. I have been, on different medications. I've tried going to see counselors and different things like that, but I've never found anything that has stuck. So I would say all that to say that like I would much rather go to somebody like you who has a lot of life experience, who, is non-judgmental, and like you said, other than like an Ivy League, like stuck up, you know, person or whatever that's, probably is gonna like act non-judgmental, but is probably sitting there judging you to death, like
Hmm.
I would much rather go to somebody real who's seen some shit like you.
And the reason that I'm really non-judgmental is because there was a long period of time where my shit stunk. I came and I was a fucking garbage human being for many years of my life. And that's all through the throes of addiction. So I am never one to think that I am, for one, ever better than anybody. Um, it's weird because like people will tell me I have some narcissistic tendencies or like personality traits, but it's more like just kind of my shtick, I guess. Um, there's even like a running joke around the office. That's just Nate. Like because
Yep.
it's I work in it's a dark place. And when I think about some of the stuff that just comes through my office,
I bet.
there's we do psychiatry, addiction, kids mental health, adult mental health, group treatment. So there's a lot of people that are coming through the doors of where I work. Um, and there's a lot of dark stuff that comes through those doors. So I'm the last person to think that I am better than anybody. And again, it goes back to that humility piece, right? I was an addict with some shitty tattoos, and somebody said, you know what, those tattoos don't matter. What matters is your heart and your drive, and we're gonna give you that opportunity. So it's again, who am I to judge somebody? And the other thing that I really try to stress as a professional, and it's hard, is not to compare yourself to anyone else.
Yep.
Don't, like I will have clients sit in my office and say, I have anxiety and this is how it impacts me, but like I still have, I have my home and my family and my job. So really, there are people that probably have it worse off than I do, or that are less fortunate than I am. And I said, but where does that matter? Because your mental health is here on my couch. And so it doesn't matter who you are, what you do when you walk through that door. The fact that you're through my door indicates that there's a problem to me, and that's something that we can work to resolve.
Yeah.
And so it's a theory of counseling called person centered, where I believe that you're the expert of your life. I am not. I'm just there to try to pull out new information or get you to see the things that you might not see or might not want to believe, even though everybody else will tell you it's true, right? Think about all those times that you have that self doubt,
Yep.
thinking, is this worth my time? Am I putting out something that people are going to like? What if this is garbage? What if they hate me for it? And none of those things happen
All the time.
because your anxiety catastrophizes.
Yep.
That's what it's called. You catastrophize, and your brain is always going to worst case scenario. That's one of the things that I struggle with now, why I'm not currently in a creative space. um and again, that's a whole nother crazy story in and of itself too. But so going back to you have to be non-judgmental,
Yep.
because again, our shit don't stink. We have our own mental health problems,
Mm-hmm.
and so that exacerbates our own mental health problems. So it becomes ever more important to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and a lot of us aren't, because we're caught up in that Western grind and those ideals that we have to put everybody else's needs ahead of our own, especially given the clients that we work with.
Yep.
So I'm fortunate that I work for a company that's very supportive of self-care and of taking, doing you. And like, this is the weirdest thing. Like, if I'm not doing okay, I can walk into my boss's office, sit down and be like, so I'm not doing okay. I hate my job and I have no happiness. And they're like, okay, so let's talk about this. Like they're therapists too.
Yep.
Now they're not actively engaging in therapy, but it's almost expected that if I'm not doing okay, I'm supposed to share that stuff with them.
Right.
It creates this weird dynamic in the workplace, but it's really one of the only ways I've made it through. I'm still relatively a newer therapist, but you add like inexperience and a pandemic and all that, plus my own mental health issues, and life becomes pretty fucking tough.
I can't imagine adding that layer to it. I mean, you mentioned briefly uh like beating yourself up over like not being in a creative space. Do you want to elaborate on that?
So, and I know you had mentioned pre-show about getting into like the pandemic. So pre-pandemic, I had started my own podcast. I had zero idea what I was doing. I had no plan. I just knew that I had a microphone and a buddy who liked to talk and the ability to record it.
That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting at a fairly decent setup. I've got 3 curved monitors in front of me.
Oh, amazing. I don't even have that.
Yeah, so I've got 3 27-inch 1440p gaming monitors spread. So I've got well, at the time, a really nice high-end computer. She still holds her own. So I've always had the technology to be able to do this and the know-how. So we had started a podcast with really no direction. And my buddy would come over and we'd kind of decide what we were going to talk about, like literally like 3 minutes before we would hit the record button. Literally no plan. And so that steamrolled into starting a YouTube channel. I had already moderately established one like 13, 14 years ago, or like when YouTube rolled out. I had signed up for an account, maybe had like 300 subscribers. I'd post a gaming video every now and then. Long story short, we found a really niche community on YouTube and started to incredibly grow. I remember celebrating 1,000 subscribers over like 6 months, and within another 6 months, we were pushing 8 to 9,000 subscribers.
That's impressive.
We had just gotten monetized. We were starting to grow on Patreon. Like we were in a position for this to really take off. Here's where the struggle became. We were moved to a point where we were putting out a video a day.
Wow.
And then right as we started to get towards the pandemic, we were not only putting out 7 videos a week, we were uploading 2 to 3 other videos of longer chunks of content that we were making.
Wow.
And so we kind of had it down to a system where we would record like that week's worth of videos all in a single evening. And then we could edit it, throughout the week and upload it and have them ready to
That
go.
makes sense.
Yep. And we were even at a point where when the pandemic hit and the original shelter in place came out, we had over 6 weeks worth of content uploaded, edited, and ready to go.
Oh, wow.
Like we had turned this into a machine. The struggle became it started because my buddy had like no computer experience. So I was doing all the editing. We would record on Monday nights, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights, I'd come down and the only thing I was really doing was editing and uploading. And so it started to kind of take a strain on my relationship and my own mental health. Um, and then the pandemic hit. And so my wife and I wanted to take the shelter in place fairly seriously because Corona was new and nobody really knew
Yep.
how bad this was going to get.
Yep.
And so, and again, I don't want to throw shade at anybody, but there was a lot of tension that came with that.
Yep.
My buddy wanted to come over and make videos, and he worked in the restaurant industry, and he was out of a job. So he really like had nothing but free time. And because of the work that my wife and I do, I don't know if being a therapist is essential. I guess so.
Yep.
I was never out of work. They gave us the ability to work at home. And I, at that time, was doing strictly community-based work, and all of my clients still wanted to see me in person. So I was still out every day driving and going to see people in their homes. And it led to a lot of friction.
I feel that.
And I there was a couple of things that had happened. One, we hit 10,000 subscribers. Two, they gave us 3 copyright strikes in a day.
Jeez.
we might have been doing like react. We were doing some reacting to some bootleg stuff. And YouTube came in hard with the nope, you're done. And so that was kind of like my out. I was like, you know what? I wanted to step away. It had quit being fun, and that's why I had started it.
Yep.
And that like that was my clean break. And so there was a lot of tension in the end, and my buddy had come over. I had cleaned out my basement. I gave him everything. I said, take it and go. I don't want I don't want anything to do with it. Whatever we've created together, invested, it's yours. The name, the graphics, the logo, take it and run. Because it almost cost a friendship. Like a 10-year friendship almost got thrown down the drain because of a YouTube
Wow.
channel. And I wasn't going to let that happen. So to this day, he is successful with it, and we still hang out on the regular. He's coming over tomorrow night to listen to vinyl. And we still maintain a great friendship. We
Oh
just,
wow.
yeah. We just went and saw Batman last week.
Wow, that's awesome. I thought you were gonna say like I'd never talk to him again, like, and you just realized that you couldn't do that together, and you know to save your friendship essentially.
Right. I'm too grown to let something like that come in the way. And to this
Yeah.
day, he's successful at it. He's rebuilt the channel. And more all the love and success to him. I've no ill will towards him whatsoever. But yeah, no, I wasn't. I had lost a friendship a few years before that over some dumb shit, and I wasn't about to let that happen again. And so, yeah, he was actually supposed to come over tonight to listen to vinyl. I was like, oh man, I would, but I got to do this podcast. So, yep. So we're doing it tomorrow night. So yeah, no, had to salvage that friendship. But just realized it was a business decision. It wasn't personal.
Yeah.
So, and again, my career was starting to move into a different direction. So I needed to focus on that. And we had the stress of like our wedding getting canceled because of the pandemic,
Oh yeah.
so all that bullshit. Dude, I was supposed to get married in Jamaica.
Damn.
And the pandemic came and said, no, no, you're not.
Damn. So what was the date you were originally supposed to do it?
It was like August 2020.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Damn.
So we were like 6 months into the pandemic. So when I'm talking about struggling to like get back into the creative space, I've missed it. I have. I enjoy making content.
Hmm.
I used to stream on Twitch, and I was a Twitch affiliate making money, and then I started taking graduate statistics and never went back.
Yep.
So I gave up on that, aspect of like creation, and there's it's probably harder now, but I first signed up for Twitch in like 2015. If I'd stuck with it, I could have been doing Twitch for a living.
It's crazy. I have so many of those stories, man. I mean, like I made sketch comedy with my friends from 95 until like 2001. If we would have kept going for 10 years when YouTube, we would have been fucking huge.
Millionaires.
No doubt, no doubt. I have no doubt that if we would have kept going with that, we would be fucking huge. And like it's crazy how much like life and especially the pandemic, can get in the way of creativity and like passion when it comes to that stuff. Because I mean, man, I really relate to that. I mean, I still do, do the podcast and stuff like that, but it's been a fight for me to keep it going and stay consistent with it and balance life and everything. I mean, I had to like, my I took the pandemic very seriously as well. I mean, I've been working at a group home, and my mom had just gotten out of a cancer treatment in 2019, and I was living with my parents. So I was like going to work and trying to stay good for my mom, and my girlfriend, her brother um is a cancer survivor as well, and he has like one lung. So, we were just being extra careful
Right.
for our loved ones. And then, when it comes to creativity, I mean, I put like everything on hold when my mom got cancer. And then when the pandemic hit, I literally stopped having Nice Guy Entertainment be a record label
Mm-hmm.
because of the pandemic. Cause I couldn't like it got to a head when we were trying to do a cipher song, and we were trying to get like five people to agree on like time lengths, and my DJ was like freaked out at me for not going to record him and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't fucking be everything to everybody right now. I have to let it go. And I actually haven't shared that part on here, but I really relate. And then my mom passed from COVID, you
Right.
know, inevitably.
I'm
And
sorry to hear that, my man.
thank you. I appreciate that. So I it's a struggle to like to stay focused on your dreams and your vision when like you have all this fucking life bullshit coming at you at all times. So I mean, I just commend you for like even, you know, staying consistent with your career and you know knowing what your priorities are, and congrats on getting married, you know,
Thank you.
and finally making that happen, man.
Yeah. It wasn't Jamaica, but it was still super nice. But to get back into the creative space, and this is where it gets even weirder, but I wanted to get back into YouTube. It's just me. I have the ability to do everything myself. I can do it at my own schedule. And I haven't found the motivation to do it. The pandemic killed a lot of passions for a lot of people. Like I used to game. Like that was my thing. Like I streamed on Twitch, been playing games my whole life. I build my own fucking gaming PCs. I build my own keyboards.
Mm,
And I couldn't find anything recently in the last year or so to be like, what's something that I'm into that other people want to pretend that they care about me caring about, if that makes sense.
right.
Right. You don't, I mean, yeah, we watch YouTube because there are stuff that interests us, and then we watch YouTube because there's bullshit we are sitting on the toilet and have time to fill. But then I got into a pandemic hobby, um, and I got into vinyl.
That's what's up.
And I started ordering vinyl and collecting vinyl as a form of self-care. Um, on the weekends, I don't do anything. I sit in my kitchen and I listen to vinyl
That's amazing.
and I hang out with my dog. Yep, that has become my new hobby. So for the past few months, I've been slowly chipping away at. I have a really nice space over here to record YouTube videos. I have a bar. Um, with lights, and it's this is where we used to record our YouTube content. So I've got space to do it. I just don't have the motivation to fucking clean it.
Damn.
Literally, if you look over here, it's just like a dirty fucking shit
Oh
show.
yeah. Damn.
I haven't even found the motivation to clean all of that yet. But when I do, and I'm kind of using your podcast as a platform to be like, I can do creative stuff and find some motivation to fucking do it.
Use me as a guinea pig, man, and let me know if you need any if you need any extra motivation. I mean, if you need like me to hit you up on a regular basis and just be like, "What are you doing today, Nate? Have you worked on anything?"
Much appreciated, and I might use you on that. My buddy, who I used to make YouTube videos with, hits me up once a week. Hey, bro, you clean the bar yet? You start your channel?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that level of friendship that, like, he even offered me to, like, he got so successful, he rented out a studio in downtown St. Cloud, offered me to let me to come use his studio to record videos, and so I've got the backers, but I will use you as motivation to actually clean and do something. And I'm going to talk about vinyl. Like I have a love for
That's
I
what's
have a
up.
love for a lot of music. I'm not going to talk about like quality. I'm not an audiophile by any means. Like I couldn't tell you the difference between like $100 record player and a $500 record player, $1,000 record player. Maybe I could. I don't have one, so I don't have like
Yep.
so I'm not gonna do like gear reviews or any shit like that. I have what I have, but I'm thinking of like, pick out, a couple albums, do like an artist spotlight, or like what I went and bought that week. My favorite shops in the cities, where to order vinyl. That's been the biggest clusterfuck.
That would be sweet.
Thank you. That is chasing, like when you know what albums that you want to get, like the places that you can get them is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like there's at least like 6 or 7 spots a day. Reddit, there's discords for vinyl. There's an old forum I found. If you're old enough, you remember forums
Yeah.
like before social
Yep.
media. There's still a forum that's super active. Facebook. I'm in probably like 13 different vinyl groups on Facebook. So Discogs is another kind of like, it's a website where people can create their collections. You can like add in like your variant of the record, and they give you a value and stuff like that. um so I want to translate that passion for vinyl into a passion of talking about it. But yeah, definitely not on like the gear side, but just more,
Right.
you know it, I'll probably run out of ideas for content super quick. But I've had the idea of starting, not necessarily like a full on podcast, but interviewing other people in the vinyl community. There's a lot of us.
Yep.
There's a lot of vinyl, and there's a lot of money in it. But there's these low key like underground raffle groups on Facebook where people put up $100, $300, $400 records. It's like $5, $10 a spot you can throw in and maybe win this like super expensive record. It's super cool, but they're really tight knit, closed communities because obviously, gambling on Facebook, they super frown upon that stuff. So, but the communities exist and they're super cool. But yeah, so that's where the creative space that I'm working towards currently is at. Just haven't, when you get home from like Mondays, I work 13-hour days on Mondays doing therapy.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm there typically 7:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night.
So how many clients is that?
12 to 13.
Oh wow. So like what an hour essentially.
Well, my day is split up. I run a day program. So I do group therapy as well.
Oh, okay.
And I do that on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays from 9 to noon. And so in group, I could have anywhere from 1 to 10 people in a 3-hour span, and then go see 7 other clients individually throughout the day.
Damn.
They get long, but I get most of Thursdays off and typically only work half a day Fridays.
But that's taxing, man. You got to give yourself a break, man. I mean, like, I feel like I would be in the same boat as you if I had your job. I mean, that's heavy shit. I mean, you're dealing with people's issues all day long, and listening to people, and that's got to be exhausting, man. So I mean, I would definitely give yourself some grace when it comes to your creative stuff and putting that to the side for a little bit.
And that's why I literally do nothing on my weekends. Like if I have to leave the house, I get mad. Even still, just like having the knowledge, the ability, the technology, if you want to make it the time to create, and you still can't do it.
I can relate, man. I mean, because I mean, I do a bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm working a day job and dealing with a bunch of personal issues, and just a bunch of stuff that I'm juggling. But I mean, my brother is hitting me up all the time about like, why aren't you heavily on TikTok yet? Why aren't you, doing this? Because I should be creating tons of content on TikTok. I should be chopping up little clips of this podcast, and I should be putting out more music, putting out more beats to sell, and like, because I'm always creating. I mean, I'm always doing that shit, but like I should be doing more to like show it and display it and make more content. And it's tough to juggle, man. I mean, with life stuff and all that stuff. I mean, especially at our age, especially in like late 30s, early 40s, it gets tough. But I mean, I feel like I know that you'll reach that point though. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think because the way you are about vinyl is how I am with sample packs.
Right.
Because like I'll like download new sample packs, and I'll sit there and like I could spend a whole day just sorting through sounds and going through sounds and organizing my sample library and just all that stuff.
One, creating content, and two, like working on stuff like that seems like a real good way to focus your attention.
Yep.
And I'll never be in a position to like create content as a career. Maybe I will.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's got to be a scary fucking jump.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you got people like Mr. Fruit and PewDiePie and Mkbhd if on the tech side, and any number one of those, those big channels. Like them dudes are making tens of millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
Unbox therapy. But I'd like to see what it would take. Like I'd like to see analytics of like where I would need to be at to sustain YouTube as a career. I don't think I'd ever be in that kind of position.
It'd be really hard. But I mean, if you're passionate about it, I mean, you could do it. But I mean, it's hard right now for me to figure out how to grow this podcast, and because I mean, I'm doing freelance work, and like I said, working at the group home still, and personal life, all that stuff. It gets hard, man. It gets hard to fully dive into the creative stuff. I mean, my ultimate dream is to make a career and living out of it, and I'm working on steps towards that, but it's a process, man. It's not a, I feel like it's not a linear process either. It's super up and down.
Then you dig into like the new stuff. Like I don't give a fuck about TikTok. I really don't. I fucking loathe TikTok. And I'll give you a scientific reason why in a minute, but spreading yourself too thin across all of those mediums, because right, you want to reach as many people as you can.
Yep.
You want your podcast on Spotify and Podbean and Apple Podcasts and TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There's and especially like when you're doing it yourself, it's impossible. Think bigger channels have teams to do that shit for them.
Yep.
Big content creators, they don't edit their own videos at this point. Maybe a couple do. I think, are you familiar with Mkbhd?
No.
Okay, crazy story. He first reviewed a laptop on his channel at 14 in like 2007. Like close to 15 million subscribers, one of the most respected and like biggest YouTubers on the fucking planet, does tech. He records his YouTube videos with like $60,000 movie cameras just because he can.
Wow.
Like, go check out some Mkbhd. Like, his production value is probably some of the best on YouTube, if not better than like professional.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll start it. We talked about people becoming millionaires. 2007, he reviewed a laptop. Oh shit. I have a visitor here. But it's impossible to get into all those mediums when you're a one-man show, and you still have to dedicate time to editing and uploading and
Yep.
and like promoting on the platforms that you already have.
Yep.
This is Jax, by the way. He's
Hey, Jax. What are those cats called again?
Sphinx.
Sphinx.
Yep.
That's right.
Very ugly to some people, but very, very, very affectionate.
Yeah.
But it's impossible on your own to reach as many people as you should be able to,
Right.
without sacrificing your own self-care.
Yep.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
You could spend an 8-hour day promoting for like one project,
Yep.
So like I said, and then the other part of it for me was regrowing a YouTube channel, having found that success that quick, and then having it yanked away, and then rebuilding and rebranding is difficult. So here's where it gets even, I don't want to say worse, but partly more motivation to want to get back to creating. So we got 3 copyright strikes on our old YouTube channel. Boom, deleted, you're done. And that's like, that hurts, because we had, I don't want to say we really put in work. YouTube did the work. We just put out videos. Well, we did the work. A month ago, my old YouTube channel was reactivated. All of our old content was still there. I have a YouTube account with 6,500 subscribers just sitting there, and I'm not doing a damn thing with it.
Yeah, bro, you gotta get to it, man.
Those are all people that subscribe to what we previously were putting out, because of like, they didn't come for the videos that we were a reaction channel. Am I ashamed? Sure. Did it grow YouTube channel? Yeah. It's a niche market, but people watch this shit. So you roll with it. But yeah, that's 6,500 people that subscribe to my channel. And I'll include our channel at the time, because we were the ones that were on it.
Yep.
There are people that will never see those numbers on YouTube,
right?
That put out content, it's not in the grand scheme of YouTube, is it a ton of people? No, but that's a lot of people. That's more people than my hometown.
Yeah.
So that was kind of it was the strangest thing. Like, I got a bunch of emails about old copyright infringements. You upload a video of a song, YouTube claims it and you can't get the money for it. And I got like 60 of them one day. And I was like, well, that's 2 years too fucking late. So I started deleting them. And then my buddy sends me a screenshot and said, dude, the old channel has been reactivated and all of our videos were there.
You guys didn't reactivate it?
It was so strange, Brandon. Like, I could, like, YouTube on my phone, like, I would try to sign into that account on the app and it wouldn't even let me use my Google account to access YouTube.
Wow.
They wiped it completely. And 2 years later, it just mysteriously reactivated.
That's insane.
So in essence, I gave myself my own platform.
Damn.
But I still don't have the motivation to put out a video. Mostly because I've been pussyfooting around on getting my graphics together.
Yep.
Like, for me, that's something that I can't get through in my head, is I can't put out content till I'm satisfied with the way that things are going to look.
That's what's like stopped me from even like starting a podcast to begin with for a while, because, or for all of 2020, because I could have, like, right when the pandemic hit, I could have started it, but I didn't start it until the end of 2020. So, like, it's a thing with us creators where we have to have it a particular certain way, or we just don't want to do it. And I think it's just like a mental thing that we got to get over, and we got to just kind of accept that, like, we can't have everything be perfect.
And that's what's strange is I'm not a perfectionist by any means. Like I'm not a neat freak. Like my house is lived in. Like it could be clean, sure, but it's not filthy gross.
Mhm.
But so I'm not like because perfection shows up in different ways,
Yep.
right? Like I know I'm not a perfect therapist. I know like I have shortcomings and I always have learning to do. And same in my relationships, like those are all things that forever take personal growth and development. But when it comes to my graphics for a fucking YouTube channel, colors, fonts, design ideas,
My girlfriend's a graphic designer, so I totally know how that goes.
right? So not only that, but then not once I come up with the idea for a fucking logo, then I got to spend probably a weekend at least animating the fucker for an intro to a YouTube video because you got to have the cool YouTube intro.
Yep.
So that's me spending time and researching and studying and playing around in Adobe After Effects. And that shit can take hours and hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours. I actually my master's program reached out to me a couple of years ago. I think it was a year or so after, year and a half after I'd graduated, to put together like a minute long video for a conference that they were putting together. And I animated the entire thing in After Effects from scratch. I had no preconceived idea of what I was going to do, and that minute long video, I want to say I probably put like 12 to 13 hours of work into.
I bet. That's crazy.
I was paid for my time, but when you think about setting goals, right? We'll dive back into mental health here. When you think about the larger goal becomes super overwhelming, right? I got to get graphics done. I got to write a script. I got to think of a topic. I got to clean my bar. I got to set up, other equipment. So all these things run through our head, right? I got to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. And it just becomes so overwhelming.
Yep.
And you don't know where to start.
Yep.
And I'm working on cleaning the bar, and I'm working on graphics, and I'm working on ideas for future videos. And the easiest thing to do is just stop it. I actually talked to my boss about this. Who's fun fact, my boss and supervisor is the longest employed person in the office that I work in. She's been there like 13 years. And she says, "Why do you overwhelm yourself? Here's what you do. Pick up 4 things a night that you can throw away. It takes you 5 seconds." And I've been
Yep.
just slowly doing that. Every time I walk by, I just grab a couple of things that need to get thrown out, and the bar's kind of slowly been cleaning itself.
Yep.
So yeah, it's called smart goal setting, right? It's breaking it down into smaller, more realistic chunks that are measurable and obtainable and timely.
Yep.
So I figure by the end of the weekend, I should have enough space cleared off where I can start to work on what a setup is going to look like, right? So just breaking down those bigger goals into smaller ones is what I've had. It's the shit that I teach people to do, but why can't I do it?
I struggle with that myself. I totally feel that. I mean, because my to-do list and my idea list is a fucking mile long, and if I were to just every day, and I do with certain things, but um it's hard, man, when you got like a lot of goals and a lot of things you need to do. It's hard to, like, kind of break it down into that chunk sometimes, but that's really what it takes, is just fucking doing the work little by little.
Even then, sometimes it's hard even prioritizing those smaller chunks.
Yep.
Like what's more important, cleaning the bar, coming up with the logo.
Yeah. But man, you're an impressive dude, man, and
Thank you.
I really appreciate you giving me the time, and I can't wait to see your podcast, because and hear it, because I know that you're gonna create something amazing, man. I know you're gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it, and that's kind of gonna be my. It's now that we're coming out of winter, and I can spend more time outdoors. It'll probably give me more like appreciation for and focus. I know that sounds strange, but yeah, again, I thank you for letting me join you and just kind of rambling for the last hour plus.
I actually got a lot of gems, man. I mean, in every episode, I find myself just really, I mean, I love connecting with people, but I mean, I learn something on every episode from people, and I really relate to different things that we talk about. So I mean, then that's That's what it's all about for me, and that's what I hope that it's about for the listeners as well.
and just being human,
Yep.
right? So yeah, again, I appreciate you guys. Um, I do have vinyl Instagram. It's instagram.com/33_.3. I just kind of vinyl shit post and pictures of my cats and my dog. But yeah, Brandon will have the links for the upcoming YouTube channel under this. And I'm excited to put out content and see if anybody cares.
Hell yeah, man. I know they will, man. Thank you again, man. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. The pleasure was mine. Have a good night, sir.
You too, man.